Good Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Water Climate Control Volquest.com mailbag podcast on this Friday. Glad to have you with us with Jesse Simonton, Austin Price, and Rob Lewis. I'm Brent Hubbs. Hope everybody is doing well. Again, you can check out Blue Water Climate Control on Twitter at BlueH2O_climate, or you can check them out online at bluewaterclimatecontrol.com. We'll jump right into the mailbag, and we're going to start right out of the gate. I knew this one was coming. This is from Cajun 3. Question number one is, will Tennessee seriously push for JT Daniels? Could you see us also a scenario of games being played in empty stadiums? And his third question is, in the past, we've had coaches go into certain hotbeds and make up for previous staff's missteps, thinking of this staff going into Memphis after Butch did not recruit it. With fresh blood on the staff, is there any particular region where we're having to fix the mistakes from coaches that are no longer here? Let's start first with JT Daniels, and I will defer to you, Austin Price, for the JT Daniels discussion to start.
Well, with JT, I think Tennessee is very much in play here. To me, this is a four-team race: Oregon, Michigan, Tennessee, and LSU. From some people I've talked to, they think that it's kind of even a two-team race between Tennessee and LSU. I think Tennessee is going to do everything they can to see if they can end up landing JT Daniels. From the outside looking in with no bias, would it be easy just to go and throw to those receivers at LSU? That to me makes a ton of sense. The opposite of that would be the fact that, do you really want to follow Joe Burrow and what he just did at LSU? I mean, you could have a really good year and it wouldn't hold a candle to what Joe did. So I guess you can look at it a number of different ways. Michigan finished second in his recruitment the first time around. Obviously Oregon, or you had remained in the Pac-12 and out on the West Coast. And then of course you have the relationship with T here at Tennessee.
Again, he's not been to the East and not been in the Southeast for any particular amount of time. Would he pick one of those schools, having never made a visit there, as opposed to maybe a Michigan who he did see and does have more of a feel with, or does he stay on the West Coast with Oregon? But I think, Jesse, for path to field and immediate playing time with weapons around him, LSU would be the one, as Austin said, that jumps off the page at you.
Yeah, because you get to play with the number one receiver in the country, and Jamar Chase.
And other guys too.
And they loaded up on some other guys, and then you got a five-star running back in John Emery. Who didn't get to play a whole lot last year because he was playing behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So in terms of weapons, I think it's an easy decision. Now, does he want to follow Burrow, as AP brought up? It's a good point. But it's also a quick way to kind of reload behind a program that continues to kind of be on the ascent, even if they're replacing a ton of parts that are going to get drafted here over the next few days.
And Joe Brady's no longer at LSU. Does that have an impact? I mean, because it potentially could have an impact on a decision.
Well, certainly, because he was the guy that drew all the attention a year ago, that he was the guy who made LSU what they were. Part two of his question, Rob, to you, do you see a scenario, or could you see a scenario of games being played in empty stadiums this fall?
I don't think anything's off the table, but I mean, I think that if that's the way they have to go, if they're still not going to allow 90,000, 100,000 people to congregate, I just think there's too much money at stake for them not to play and get and still have the TV revenue. As Jesse posted on the board yesterday, the poll from athletic directors across the country, the vast majority, overwhelming majority, certainly think there's going to be football in the fall. And I just fall back on the financials. But as you've been saying, everybody's been saying, we'll know more in a month. But if they're gonna have kids on campus, which I've got a young man who's gonna be a senior or a freshman in college next year. That we're certainly hoping that's the case. And Missouri's president indicated yesterday that he thought that there were going to be students on campus this fall. If there are kids on campus, I think they'll be playing football, whether there's people in the stands or not.
I'm with you. I think every scenario is certainly on the table, as we've mentioned and thrown out there before. Let's go to his last question here. Jesse, we'll start with you about the hotbeds, places that Tennessee's gotten into, or would they get into that the previous staff hasn't. We've seen that in North Carolina. Any other places you think this staff, with the relationships they have, might be able to get into that's not just Georgia, Tennessee? They're trying in Alabama, although that may be hard. Maybe that's the biggest area is Memphis, Alabama, compared to what Butch's staff did, in addition to North Carolina?
Well, I mean, I think we'll see, in a second cycle, if things resume to kind of some sort of normalcy. Does Jay Graham have more of a play in kind of the Tidewater and up in the Virginia? Does he kind of try to go more aggressively up there to try to get more kids to campus? Obviously, they're recruiting Tony Grimes, but, maybe in future cycles could see up there. Is vets around AP? Does he kind of continue to try to get Tennessee, into that Philly or into that New Jersey mix where you're seeing, Ohio State's had a lot of success there. Georgia's obviously created a pipeline from Philadelphia. New Jersey's got a lot of good players too. And so that's why part of the reason Greg Schiano got hired back at Rutgers was to keep as many guys up there. If Acevet's here another year, he showed a propensity for those first 2 months to get some kids to campus. I could see that becoming a place that Tennessee tries to recruit a little bit more broadly, a little bit more nationally. But a lot of that hubs, AP, I think it's dependent on winning. You gotta kind of get to get that national exposure. You got to start winning.
Yeah, I mean, when Tennessee was winning, Brent, you know this better than anybody. They were able to pull kids from California, Turk McBride from New Jersey. I mean, all kinds of places all over. We'll even drop Adam Myers' White reference from Ohio. You could pull people from all over the place when you're winning. Tennessee has last year established that they took a step in the right direction in year 2. If they can take another step this year, I think that's something that's a slow build to, which is why you've got to take care of North Carolina. Unfortunately for Tennessee, Mac Brown does got a lot of juice over there. Brent made a good point the other night in the Monday night chat. Mac's got a dynamic personality. I mean, he's somebody that people gravitate towards. Even though he's an older gentleman, he's got a dynamic personality that people really kind of just kind of go to. And so I think that resonates with kids. He's hired some a solid staff around him. But Tennessee, if they're able to land Isaac Washington, Jalen Wright, who I think continues to pick up more steam. You go back just yesterday, he picked up West Virginia and Arkansas. He's going to continue to pick up more and more, offers. He's 6 foot, 198 pounds right now. He's definitely not a small back. I mean, when you put another 15 pounds on him, and he can handle it because he's got broad shoulders, he's gonna run with an explosiveness that I think a lot of people are going to love. Then if you can add Kamen Marley, we'll see where they are with some of these other guys in the state of North Carolina, whether it's Javari Ritzy, Travali Price, those type players. But, if you can, to me, you've got to take care of North Carolina, you got to take care of some parts of Georgia, and you got to take care of the home front. The hard part is it's not a great year in the state of Tennessee, Brent. You look across the board, I mean, there are some players, but it's not nearly as deep as it was a year ago.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Rob, the other thing, too, is when you talk about recruiting nationally and you go back to the heyday for Tennessee, I don't want to take anything away from what Phillip Fulmer and his staff did. They were successful in areas where football wasn't good at that particular point in time. When you talk about going out to California and getting, Casey Clausen, Kevin Burnett, and Kevin Simon, well, Pete Carroll was not at he wasn't at USC making hay at that point in time. And Oregon wasn't doing big things at that point. The West Coast was really wide open to some SEC schools. You go look at the national championship year when they had all the South Carolina players. Clemson was a non-factor at that point. So Tennessee through the years made a living in some states where at the time the home state school wasn't very good. It's a little harder to find some of those right now. If you say, well, go back to Oklahoma and get some guys. Well, when you got Robert Meacham, Oklahoma was bad, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I think the elephant in the room, and we've certainly talked about it before, is Clemson. I think that's hurt Tennessee more than anything, and Georgia to some degree too. I mean, Georgia was decent back in the late '90s, early 2000s, but they weren't playing for national championships like they have been the past couple of years. So I think, to me, the Carolinas are huge. But yeah, I mean, it's just a common sense that nationally, the brand is not what it once was, and it's hard to go into somebody's backyard when you're, when say it's Ohio State's backyard, like 10, 15 years ago when they got Austin Mission, Adam Myers-White. They also got Ben Martin, who was a 5-star, went up there and plucked him. And New Jersey, I think Tennessee capitalized there several times. You mentioned Turk McBride. Rashard Baker was also a big-time recruit they got from there. And Penn State, not doing much there in Joe Pa's final years. So, yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. I mean, I think you have to win. Your brand has to be strong, and you can't, you're not going to win many battles against, Ohio State, USC when they're good.
Go ahead,
Obviously,
Jesse. Go ahead, Jesse.
Well, I just want to make one aside here. So, AP, finish your point, and then I'll make an aside.
Well, I was going to say, we joke about Adam Myers-White and Ben Martin. Those guys were highly ranked though coming out of high school and were coveted by every other big-time program. They didn't have great careers. But, Rob brings up a great point about Rashad Baker. Then you go down to the D.C. area where Tennessee obviously has tried to recruit a little bit here lately, whether it be up in the DMV. They got a guy like Rico McCoy. So, I mean, like, you go all over. When Tennessee was winning, they were able to recruit all those areas. But Brent brings up a great point when, taking advantage of some areas where the football was not great. But right now, where's there an area that you can take advantage of? I mean, I just don't know if there is one.
Well, and my aside to that, which you kind of gave me a layup here, AP, that I was going to make a point. We see it a lot of times on our board. You hear other folks talk about it. Why can't, specifically Tennessee fans, but in terms of like, hey, recruiting against South Carolina or recruiting against Auburn, two coaches that I think a lot of fans are like, oh, Will Muschamp is going to be on the hot seat. Oh, Gus Malzahn is always on the hot seat. Well, no one's going to be on the hot seat with coronavirus, with this pandemic, in my opinion. Schools are not going to shell out millions of dollars to pay for buyouts. Job security is going to be on an all-time high, in my opinion, after this 2020 season. And so we see it on our board all the time, right, AP? People are like, oh, South Carolina, why would they go there? Who would go play for Will Muschamp when he may be getting fired next season? Well, he probably has more security than you really think, and that's why Tennessee's in a real battle for Tyon Evans with South Carolina. Cody Brown and Gus Malzahn in Auburn, they're not going to write that check. It's not hard to kind of see where this thing's going economically. And if schools are talking about having to cut back programs, these boosters are not going to be forking over these checks when they're worried about, some of their oil shares and stuff that is tanking down in Texas. So
I do agree that I think that the job security will be at an all-time high. But to think that there's not going to be any movement at all, I think would be ridiculous. I do think there'll be movement, whether it's self-inflicted or not. I think at some point, let's say Tennessee loses out on Junior Colson. Every year for the last 3 or 4 years, has Jim Harbaugh not been rumored to be out, going back to the NFL? At some point, that's probably going to happen. Who's to say it doesn't happen coming up this year? So who's
that's
to say
different than someone getting fired, though.
No, but what I'm saying though is I think if you think that there's not going to be anybody get let go.
Jesse
I didn't say zero. I didn't say zero, but I think you're on a lot of the big time programs that these guys have major buyouts. I think the schools are going to punt, almost have to be forced to use this as a mulligan year because of just kind of how everything's been so wild. Again, this is my opinion as we sit here in late April, but I would be surprised the way this thing is starting to transpire if you're going to see a lot of schools shell out millions of dollars to pay a guy not to coach their football team amid what is going to be an uncertain next 12 months, no matter how it unfolds.
In my opinion, if there is football this fall and if there are fans in the stands, which means that's a good revenue maker, I think that there will be maybe a fraction more job security, but I don't think it'll be that much more.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. I mean, if schools are losing $30 to $50 million and people are having to, it'll be interesting to see what the financial parameters of all this takes place. I mean, in terms of how many people do, even if there is fans in the stands, how many people come, how many people are afraid to come, all those things we don't know the answers to.
Think about how many basketball coaches have saved their jobs because the season just ended.
That's a definite.
I mean,
go ahead, Rob.
So many coaches.
I was just going to say that's an absolute definite. From talking to some people in the profession, that has certainly been the case. I mean, Danny Manning at Wake Forest. If all this isn't happening, I'd say Wake Forest is one example that this springs to mind where you would have seen a coaching search.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Rob.
I'm not going to argue.
No.
To me, that's apples and oranges. The basketball staff, which literally happened at the beginning of this whole thing, and the football stuff that wouldn't end until December. Who knows where we are then? It may be worse, but it may not be. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody knows, but I do think there's a financial coming out of this, whatever it turns into. There's going to be a greater financial responsibility than what we have seen in years past when people have just said, "Hey, let's make a change and we'll write the check." I'm not saying the balloon on college athletics in terms of how much money you make has busted. But there's been a lot of people living way above their means in terms of continuing to add people or pay enormous salaries. I mean, here's a great question right now, and this is not a question in the mailbag, but I'm going to ask this one anyway. What does Phillip Fulmer do with Jeromy Pruitt's salary? We've talked about it. Extension and a raise was on the table. That was going to happen. Okay, what are you going to do now? I mean, you've got schools around the country that are furloughing coaches, furloughing people, not Tennessee at this point. But what's the fiscal responsibility to how you handle somebody's contract when you don't know if multimedia people, companies are going to be paying the university their rights fees, and you're losing all the money that you're losing right now? I think that's why you've not seen the announcement that Jimmy Joe's getting a raise. Now, to your point, Austin, who knows what it looks like 8 months from now? It may be that everybody's back on a budget of $140 million and they're rolling right along. But you're also probably going to have some schools that don't have sports, that they've eliminated a handful of their sports, not at the Power 5 level, but at the Group of 5 level. I think you're going to see some more people like Cincinnati who's eliminated a sport because of the financial bearing that they're at. Let's go to.
Well, you're going to see there's going to be plenty. I mean, this is another aside, and I'll make the point quick. But you're going to see plenty of coach or administrators and folks use this COVID-19 pandemic as an easy excuse to get rid of some stuff that perhaps they've always wanted to get rid of, and now they can say, hey, we just can't afford it, and during these uncertain times. So,
well, and I think Cincinnati and the soccer program falls under that category, because in talking to people up that way, that program's been on life support for a while, and this was an easy out at this point in time to make that move. Let's go to when can I start? This is a follow-up to JT Daniels, and I want to ask this question because he's kind of referencing this a little bit. So do you think the staff believes we must get the best players we can, regardless of how other players feel? So I think the question, Rob, that I derive from that is, if you're Jeromy Pruitt, T. Martin, Jim Chaney, and you're talking to JT Daniels, how are you managing that with your quarterbacks in a room that are probably all reading stuff on the internet and wondering what's going on with that situation as well?
I think Jeromy Pruitt is immune to worrying about hurting people's feelings. Now, I'm not saying, that he's going to be, do something subversive or, but he's all about competition. I'm sure, I imagine that's probably not a concern of his, how, Jarrett's going to feel or Harrison Bailey's going to feel if he feels like Phillip Daniels gives him a chance to win more football games.
I agree. I do think that Coach Pruitt, I think he cares more than you probably think about the perception of people leaving the program. You've seen very few people depart this program since he got here. And Jesse, I think, when we got here, we thought there was a lot of defections. Huh?
Minus coaches.
Yeah, we're not calling coaches. Fired. But I think with JT, I think that, I think the coaching staff, from people I've talked to, has been fairly upfront about, that's something that the avenue we're going to at least, look at and just, try to be honest with the kids. So, again, you want to go get the best player that you can get, no doubt about that. But at the same time, who's to say JT Daniels doesn't not say he goes somewhere else, but, JG's already been proactively looking, for another home. Who's to say he doesn't leave and all of a sudden it's a different looking quarterback room than you even thought?
No idea what's going to happen. That's, it changes every day with that. Let's go on to the next question here. I've read where Auburn's turning up the heat on Cody Brown. Where does that recruitment stand? When do you think Cody Brown's going to make a decision? Austin, sounds like this is a July to early August decision for Cody Brown at this point. You think it's a Tennessee-Auburn battle to the finish line with him?
I do. I think it's Tennessee-Auburn, unless Georgia decides that, Georgia got the running back about a week ago. They want another one. If they miss out on enough, they could end up going down that road. But right now, I don't think Cody would be a take at Georgia. So I think it's Tennessee-Auburn. I think Tennessee's got the lead right now, too.
All right, let's go to P Stone 18. When would you expect a decision about students on campus for the fall semester? And with that decision, a decision about fall and winter sports. Assuming fall sports are on, when would football practice start in your opinion? Will there be an extended time to make up for spring, even a spring game? And thirdly, any word on if Tennessee will honor spring sports scholarships? I'll jump in on the third one. Tennessee is definitely going to honor their spring sports scholarships for those who want to come back for an extra year. That has not been mentioned to me by anybody that that's even a remote possibility of doing anything different other than that. As for number one, I think you're going to see Tennessee, and maybe by the time this mailbag is active, Tennessee's already announced, because I think they're going to announce early Friday morning that their hope and their plan is in place to have students back on campus, but that's not an absolute guarantee. I think they'll make a similar announcement to what Missouri made yesterday. When you look at Missouri's announcement, it was, we're planning on students being here and we hope that they're here. But in terms of a final decision on that, that's something on down the pike, because we got to see how things play out here in the coming weeks as people, and we go through these phases of reacclimation, I guess, into some normal activity, if that's the case. So let's go to question 2. Let's say football is back, guys. How do you think the NCAA conference commissioners, it don't have to be the NCAA because it'd be across the board, how would they address fall camp? Longer acclimation period, extra week of practice, OTA type stuff for weeks, like if they're back in the month of July, do things in August and push the start of the season back several weeks. I guess every option is on the table. Give me your opinion on what it would be. I'll start with you, Rob.
I think due to the fact that everybody, lost at least most of spring practice with very few exceptions, assuming, if this decision, a decision of this magnitude, I think it would be made, early, I would say 1st of July at the latest. I think in that scenario, I kind of like your idea, maybe like some OTAs. I don't know that you get like a full-blown extra 15 practices to where kids are in camp for 45 days, before the start of the season. But I think you'll get something in July that, that precedes the actual quote-unquote start of fall camp, would be my opinion.
Anybody else? Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, I've said I've been in agreement with that. I think Saban's plan is something similar to that. I do think that the closer, we get to that end of May, which again, we're still a month out, 6 weeks out, that May, beginning of June, that's when a decision is going to have to be made if they're going to play the season on time. Now, if this thing doesn't start till October, November, I'm not really sure how a quote unquote training camp's going to look, because they may need more time. I don't know. Same thing as if the season rolls all the way. We saw multiple, it was Stuart Mandel and some other folks throwing out Pete Thamel, this week, throwing out their scenarios for a 2021 double season. I don't know exactly how training camp would look in that scenario, because a lot of those, those seasons would start on January 1. I would think they would need an even longer time, because players would effectively been away from football for, 8 months or more. So a lot of scenarios in play.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just, we're kind of like the other night when you talked to us in the Monday night chat. We'll see where we are a month from now. Where are we a month from now? I mean, every day there's new news, there's new testing, there's new results. How do we have a flare up when people, start reopening these states? Who knows how this thing will transpire? I think if you can get over the hump when they reopen these states and don't have have to take 2 or 3 steps back, then I think everything sets up for, at worst, a couple of week delay to the start of the season. Outside of that,
the biggest hurdle, I think, in my opinion, is just going to be, and this is where, who makes this decision, which we don't know, but is how do they come to a consensus that it's okay to let students back to play, because it's different everywhere. And that's what we're seeing in real time. It's different in Tennessee. It's different in Georgia. It's different in Kansas, with what's different in New York to what's different in California. So how that's made, because we know that, if somebody in the SEC wants to make a decision, Ohio State's going to raise up their hands and say, nah, that's not fair. Like this needs to be a, uniform decision. That's going to be probably the most difficult task, in my opinion, whenever that happens, whether it's a month from now or whenever.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that's the point, is how do you get everybody on board? And again, that's why the answer right now is I don't know, because in the state of Georgia, you're going to be able to go to a gym and work out, but you're not going to be able to go to a gym in the state of Tennessee and work out for several more weeks based on what's being announced so far. And then within the state, it's even breaking down county by county. So how you get the entire country on the same page for something like this, I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody does, which is why I don't know probably makes the most sense to a lot of these questions. All right, Big Orange Warrior, do you think there will be an early signing period? I think it would benefit Tennessee greatly not to have one so they can show kids what kind of improvement they're making on the field. We've talked about this a little bit before. I think it makes some sense to eliminate the early signing period, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of talk about that. When I've asked some people about it, they said, look, it's not like the kid has to sign in December anyway, so why would you eliminate it?
That's my opinion. Is it's an optional deal. I mean, I think you probably see less people take advantage of it, but I don't really see a need to eliminate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you'll see some pressure from some schools, just like I think there was, some silent pressure to, get in the boat now, and commit during this odd time of recruiting. I think you'll see plenty of pressure, though, to, with those same schools to get back in the boat officially and sign in December. It just, again, much like the last question, Brent, I think the best answer is just at this point, you don't know. I mean, I could make a case to eliminate it, but you could also make a case, as you just pointed out, to let it remain.
I said this on the board yesterday in a thread that sparked some debate. Some people disagreed with me. Some people thought it was a decent idea. If the season gets delayed, where we're not starting until November, December, and you're talking about a rollover season, or this season doesn't start till 2021, I think you have it. I think you still have the early signing period, and as many of these kids as can get on campus as early enrollees. The 85, again, this is a major hypothetical, but I do think it's something that is a real possibility. The way we're sitting, the 85 is eliminated, and if you're an early enrollee, the redshirt rule is adjusted somehow. You're allowed to play in some games because they're going to need bodies if you're playing 2 seasons in a year.
No question about that. Let's go to GoVols 21, who's got 3 questions here quick. Where does Tennessee stand for Prince Colley? Rob, what's the deal with English and Musselman? Something apparently happened on Twitter. So those are his 2 questions. Let's start with you on the English and Musselman deal.
I mean, from what I gather, Coach English took some offense with Musselman. Kind of if you pay any attention, Musselman is a big self promoter on Twitter. Does lots of kind of cute things to sort of draw attention to the program, and it appeared that Ken subtweeted him about a month or so ago after one of them, and told young coaches to not be self promoters on Twitter. And I think probably the buzzword was he referred to it as foolery, but he never mentioned Musselman by name. But it seemed pretty obvious that that's what it was.
Oh, the ever popular subtweeting. Austin, where does Tennessee stand for Prince Colley?
Well, I won't give you any tomfoolery on this answer. I think Tennessee's in a spot where he wants to come down and see things when things open back up. I think Tennessee again was going to evaluate him at camp and just see where they like him at. But I think Tennessee likes him on defense.
Okay. All Orange wants to know if the SEC TV contracts have a reopener clause that can be exercised with the unusual events. I don't know any details of the TV of the TV contract with clauses in there surrounding cancellations, or he wanted to know, could they ask for more money because of higher ratings? That's certainly not going to be the case, but I don't know of any specific clauses in there for all that stuff. Obviously, if they don't have programming, I don't see how they pay out the $44 million from the SEC network on ESPN like they would every year.
The FOIA requests are going to be wild, Hubs. Come, the longer this thing goes, because if say the season becomes truncated, what happens with some of these coaches' contracts with bonuses they're supposed to get paid for, X amount of wins and conference champion, game. It's just some of that stuff and the amendments that are going to be thrown into those clauses are going to be wild.
All right, let's go to Volunteer 87. Have any of Jackson Lowe, Sean Brown, and Jacob Warren made significant changes to their body? Additionally, have any of them impressed from an athletic standpoint? I know it's early for each of them to gauge if the ceilings of their career is becoming kind of in play at this point. Do you see them being consistent playmakers? Bonus for AP, who you taking, Woods and Manning or Mickelson and Brady in that golf event? I don't know what those guys' bodies look like. I think we all believe that this was a huge spring for that group in that position. And of all the positions out there, that group probably missed out on the spring practices more than any other position group. At least that's my opinion.
100% agree. I think that the most likely to play out of those three, Jacob Warren, Sean Brown, and then Jackson Lowe. Brown had finally gotten healthy after some off-season surgery. And Jacob Warren's a guy that's put on nearly, 45, 50 pounds since he, arrived here. And gotten to a point where I think the coaches didn't even think he could get to when he first got here. Because, he was a holdover recruit from the Butch Jones staff that signed here with Coach Pruitt. And then I'll take Tiger and I'll take Peyton.
Not going to go against Peyton. Is that more because of Peyton or is that more because of Tiger beating Mickelson?
I think Peyton's a better golfer than Brady. And at this point in the career, I know Tiger's a better golfer than Phil. But, hey, say what you want to. To me, this is an indictment against all of the young players on the PGA Tour. Don't at me, anybody on the board. When nearly 50-year-old Phil Mickelson is still the draw alongside 44-year-old Tiger Woods, that tells me all I need to know.
What if Brady has Belichick? What if Brady has Belichick on the bag? Does that change anything for you?
There's no chance in hell that he's having Belichick on the bag.
It could send a Manning drive into the woods, though.
But that would be a good spot for Gronk to lose the 24/7 title for WWE, though.
All right, Jesse, to you, Pine Mountain Vol wants to know if you have to move a nickel or a corner to start at safety, who would likely that be, and what would your secondary look like if you have to move one, a Schamberger to safety or Bryce or Alante?
I would move Schamberger to safety.
Okay, and then who would be your nickel?
I would open up a competition. I would probably honestly play Bryce a little bit more inside and let Kenneth George play some outside. Or I would see if a guy like Tyus Fields is kind of ready for an ascent. Or does a freshman like Keyshawn Lawrence find his way on the field, sometimes in some of these sub-packages.
All right, last question here is we got just a couple of minutes left. Blue Miss Vol wants to know basically why there's no more I formations. And watching the review of the games, he's enjoyed watching a fullback and the success Tennessee had with it. Why do you think college football has gone away from I formation as well as the NFL? Don't everybody jump in here at once.
I couldn't give you a good answer.
I think it's just the nature of the game. I think you've seen younger coaches more ascend. The Sean McVay or the McVays, the Lincoln Rileys, all those guys, learn more in that spread system. The old school head coach has kind of went away. And even some of the older head coaches, whether it be Nick Saban or David Cutcliffe or whoever, who have run I formation stuff in the past, they've adapted their game.
Jim Chaney.
Yeah.
The simplest answer, though, is just that the stats have now bore out that it is much more efficient to pass the football than it is to run the football. And so as the game has modernized, that even though some great running teams are still very, very, always up there in the rankings, even they have shied away. The Georgias and the Ohio States now have shied away because it's just less efficient to run the ball than pass the ball in terms of playing football these days.
Well, and I think to piggyback off of that as we get out the door here quickly is that even a guy like Nick Saban has spread the field out and got rid of a fullback because the days of driving the ball 12, 14 plays, that's not what college football is about. It's about scoring in chunks. It's about chunk plays. It's a lot easier to get a chunk play throwing the ball 25 yards in the air than it is expecting a running back to run it 25 yards downfield. And your scoring drives have chunk plays in them because, as Jesse mentioned, that's just the modernization of college football. All right, let me tell you quickly about our friends at Blue Water Climate Control and their smooth sailing service plan. Be sure and check that out. I've mentioned it to you a couple times before. There's plenty of great rewards for being a part of this service plan, including a loyalty plan where you can accrue payment towards a replacement heating and air system. You can also get the 40-point diagnostic of your entire system, which includes ductwork, prioritized response to air conditioning repairs and maintenance needs. All those things are available to you at Blue Water Climate Control. For more information, contact them at 865-299-2290. Don't forget to mention Volquest. You can check them out online at bluewaterclimatecontrol.com. That's going to do it for the Volquest.com podcast. Have a great day, everybody.